Freedom Journal of 1827. This is the first black newspaper, black-owned newspaper, and it said that we wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. Too long has the public been deceived by misrepresentations in things which concern us dearly. I'm going to take a moment and look at that. We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. Too long has the public been deceived by misrepresentation in things which concern us dearly. What was happening in that time is we wasn't, as black people, we were free, but we wasn't being represented well. Freedom Journal, their first print in 1827, it literally said, we wish to plead our own cause. And that simply means that we are going to tell our stories. Nobody else is going to tell who we are and what we do. Nobody else is going to depict who we are and what we do. Their form of what they see us as will no longer be the only thing that's written on paper. So we have to tell our own stories. We have to show, others what is happening. What's going on, everybody? I hope y'all rocking me today. So I'm going to sit here for 50 minutes. No, I'm just joking. I'm just going to sit here for a little while, and to see who jumps on, make sure all the stream is working, and it looks like I'm freezing up already. But I'm freezing up already. That's not good. But anyway. If you can see me and hear me, don't know that nobody has jumped on yet, so I don't like the way it's freezing. Yeah, it's freezing really bad. That's interesting. Crazy when the stuff happens when you're live. Y'all, we gonna what we gonna do? All right. I guess we're just gonna keep going. because I don't know if I can do anything about that right now. So anyway, but I know it affects you guys when you're watching and the video is freezing and you want to follow along, but the video is freezing. It's like it feels unprofessional, don't it? Oh, I think I understand why we freezing. There's nothing I can do about that. Let's see here. Y'all give me a minute. I'm gonna see if y'all jump on. Who jump on? Who's here? Who is here right now? Who is here with me? Let's see. All right, cool. Well, we just gonna have to keep going. So let's just start talk about. Let's start this conversation with, what are we doing? Why I'm always coming live, but just to be transparent, we need y'all to donate. So it's very simple. The hardest thing about building a network is raising funds. The second to that is you have to always be visible, right? So I'm trying to be more consistent of being being more visible and being available so that you guys can see the work. You know what I'm saying? And this is just, again, me going live every week, just kind of reminding you what we're doing and how we're doing it. So we have the donate button down there. You see it right here on the bottom of your screen. Donate to KCTV. What that website is going to bring you to is our basically about page. So it's going to have, of course, it's going to have the donate button, so you can donate there, but it'll have everything that Kingdom Culture TV is going to bring to you in the future. So again, go to buildkctv.com. Right now, we're going to bring you into, we're going to show you the launch campaign video. So let's roll that real quick. What's going on, everybody? This is Shantae Darby, and I'm really excited to sit here on the set of The Black Couch. This is what we built. Everything. Literally everything you see here. And let me show you just a little bit more. Welcome to Kingdom Culture Studios. And you guessed it, we built this too. And I'm gonna show you why this is so important. Those who control the media control the mind of the masses. Media is our education. Media is how the world is shaped in our eyes. If the people that look like me and you don't control it, then who are controlling us? So in thinking about that, we are building what we call KingdomCultured.tv. What is Kingdom Culture TV? Well, it's a network. Just like Fox Network, ABC Network, CBS Network, the stuff that you see on TV. We are bringing terrestrial TV to the internet, but we're doing it with integrity. We're a faith-based organization, so we are going to uphold standards that represent everyone well. We are building a platform where people that share our same ideals, share our same experiences, share everything that we would like to see in film. We're now providing a platform for that can happen. Not only going to be entertaining, but it's going to be educational as well, because it's going to bring up different points of views and different
expertise in some of the subjects that we should talk about in our communities. That's what Black-owned networks have done in the past. And we're just really trying to bring that back. What we're building here, it's not your typical Christian network. Because when you think about Christian network, first thing you think about is a network that's playing sermons all day. You know, that's not what we're doing here. Ministry is happening, but what we're doing by educating.
When you don't vote, then you don't get what you need on the agenda for those municipalities.
Yeah.
Because they believe, I'm gonna call it what it is, when the community is silent, they get silent treatment.
Right.
Entertaining.
God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. That's how they insult to the country. God bless you. Big Mighty God did it again. You woke up on the right side of the dirt, so let's give God a praise. This is John Lakin and friends.
Movies.
As soon as I get my legs stripped back, I'm out, all right? And you and your God can have this place to yourself. What do you know, Coach? I'm the coach.
You know what coach I'm talking about. The one that sits high and looks low.
I had a good time too. You're a pretty funny guy.
And TV shows.
Of couples state that, you know what, it's so much going on, and by the time we get home and get the kids settled and this, we're so exhausted that we just don't even have time for each other.
Set aside some time. Put it on your calendar. At 7:00 p.m., we're having dinner in the bedroom. Or you can come out in your little sexy dress, whatever you feel. You know, fix yourself up. Do what you have to do for your spouse. Because when you got married and decided to have children, the children were not to take the place of your spouse.
So, come along. Nah, for real. We're friends now. Come along, ride this train. There's nothing to lose, but everything to gain. So, look, let's build this thing together. You see what we built? This is what we building. Let's build this together.
All right, cool. We back. So hopefully it's a better viewing experience. We just had to shift some things around. But anyway, man, I just wanted to come in here not only to talk about the network, but I actually named this Skool Daze. And I have my brother in the studio, Emmanuel Chandler.
Yeah.
What's going on, my brother?
Nothing at all. How are you, sir?
Good. And I brought him in here for a unique conversation. Now, so of course he's my brother, so we actually graduated in the same class, went to the same high school, but we had different college experiences. So I wanted to talk about just the difference in the experience starting from high school, coming into college, into what we typically doing now. Some of the things that we learned, some of the things that we were exposed to or not exposed to, or just a general experience. So as you know, I went to South Carolina State, the illustrious South Carolina State. This is what we call the flagship HBCU in South Carolina.
All right.
So I enjoyed going to South Carolina State, but my brother went to
Clemson University. Absolutely. Love every bit of it.
So he went to Clemson. He went to a flagship college as well. So, but, there's this whole thing about HBCUs versus PWIs.
Correct.
Now, so let's go all the way back to high school.
Ooh,
because
man.
we went to the illustrious C.E. Murray High School.
That's right.
It's a 1A school, so it's a small school, but family-oriented school. And so you would honestly call that a HBHS, historically black high school.
Yeah.
Most of our teachers were black. Most of our administrators were black. Most of the students were black in a black neighborhood. But it's in Winsburg County, so it's not a whole lot of resources there. You're talking about, a county with 3 small towns, no Walmart, like no shopping centers, no like malls or anything that you can go to. So we always either had to go to Sumter County, Clarendon County, Florence County, Georgetown County, but nothing in our county. So if you kind of understand those demographics, even though we were in a surrounded by black people, it was basically black poor people. So how was your experience at C.E. Murray High School?
I would have to say my experience, I enjoyed my experience, and I understand that, sometimes it's hard to understand the difficulties of being a place when that's all you've ever been.
Right.
And so until you kind of get that exposure outside of those areas or those pockets, you think you just survive and you're living a life. And so until you kind of get those experiences, which I didn't get my reality into after high school, when hearing about other high school and stuff experiences and that kind of thing.
That makes sense.
But you got to keep in mind, I remember being in middle school and people would ask me what I wanted to be. I was like, I want to be an astronaut. But all you had is, the regular science classes. There was nothing else that take you further until you later got in college and you understood that, I went to school with some people that in high school, they had opportunities to go to planetariums and that kind of stuff and learn more about the stars and that kind of thing. The second thing I wanted to be was an accountant. All we had was personal finance. You had that course one time, and it was a half a credit. So, when you kind of get those kinds of experiences, it does kind of shy you away from saying, hey, I know you say I can be everything I want to be, but can I really be everything you want to be? And in that moment of time, of course, at your level of thinking, that's not always, quite there. You don't begin to develop that level of thinking until you kind of get someplace and had that exposure into doing that. Or somebody either mentor you at that state. And so, my high school experiences, while I was in the moment, I was happy. I was okay. Yeah. But it wasn't until I got my extreme, not only just cultural shock, but just educational shock that I realized the possible scandals that could have been.
Okay, so I guess we'll jump around. So was it in college? Like, how far were you into the college experience before you realized the deficiency we had in high school?
That's a loaded question, and I know it sounds simple.
No, it's not simple.
It's certainly a loaded question because if I had to be completely honest, I would have said that I probably didn't get that true reality until my junior year. And many might ask, well, wait, why didn't you get it before that? You're in college. But at that point in time, you kind of experience, well, at least with my college experience, I was first faced with shock and just kind of seeing the fact that, not only is it completely different, but the students that come in even as a freshman as you have had more enriched experiences than you've had. Even, I mean, you both can, like, I went to class with people that took Spanish, and I took Spanish, but they came to high school knowing Spanish. I came to high school just being able to say hola and come on and start. And so, just kind of having those kind of, the same credit, but they mean different. And so the same credit, same, high school requirements, but they're just different. And until you kind of have that experience to kind of know, I'll tell you what, even outside of educational, I went to school that people knew how to navigate their environments. And we, being in our high school, we just had one thing, a small navigation, but that wasn't a skill. That wasn't one of those things that you just went to class, you did what you did.
It was natural environment for us.
Absolutely.
Because we're coming from a black family. So black everywhere.
Black everywhere.
Everywhere. You go to the store.
You saw them. You saw other different cultures, but mostly they kind of train you just to survive with that.
So, I mean, and I think that's some of the things that I struggle with even today is, it's almost like I'm used to being around black folks. Period.
Gotcha.
It's kind of hard when I don't see me in places. It's I don't know maybe because I didn't have to navigate a lot, especially in college. So
That's certainly a difference.
yeah,
Because me,
I can see it.
I literally, even for me, and I would have to give Clemson that credit in doing that. That was actually my first level of shock. Being around people that was just culturally different than me. I mean, we could have been the same race, but just culturally different.
Right.
And so there was a lot of exposure to different diversity, different culture, and just different ways of thinking. Like I remember going through the critical thinking process, and I remember like being so destroyed by even being told that everything that you have learned before now could possibly be wrong. And I remember at that point in time just thinking and saying, man, everything that I learned about life could possibly be wrong. And you have to be willing to kind of put that out there just to kind of test your level of thinking if you want to find ultimate truth.
And your foundation.
Exactly.
Like, how strong is your foundation and what do you believe?
Absolutely.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think our freshman year, you challenged me with that, and I embraced it. But I remember certain family members would call you crazy.
Yeah.
So
I remember, man.
Yeah, certain family would like, man, you're talking crazy, man, with all that stuff. But I embraced it because I guess my mind was open to it. But how was that for you? I mean, to go into an environment. Let's do this. So the environment that you're going to is more celebrated because you went there, right?
Yeah.
Man, you went to Clemson.
Yeah.
Clemson. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, again, when we talk about the high school we came from, and it's class night, and they're reading
all
off
this stuff,
the college that, your students get accepted to, and then, you get one response, this student is going to Mars. Or the student, which is a smaller HBCU in Sumter, this student is going to Denmark Tech. This person is going to Williamsburg Tech. This person is going to South Carolina State. Going to South Carolina State. This person's going to USC or Clemson. That is so rare for one of us to be accepted. It was like one of those rare things. But now that you're there, the things that you're learning is causing you to be looked at like, this dude then.
Oh, totally different. Being called an Oreo several times, whether you're black on the outside but white on the inside.
So
it just
who called you? Well, was it family that called you Oreo, or was it people in your Clemson environment that called you Oreo?
Well, actually, if I had to be honest, I would say both. There were even people that was, like I said, you can be the same color, but just culturally just different. There were people even in the same environment, and it wasn't just me. And I don't want to make it seem like it was just me, because certainly, even from our class, there were, a number of us that actually went to Clemson. But
we might have had the largest class.
But I think the beauty of it is that although we all went at the same time, because the campus was so big, and because our network wasn't even within the same, I believe all of us had different experiences at different points in time in life. It's because of how we decided to take that journey. It started with a mindset, and I remember like going through my first mindset shift.
Okay.
And that was even in my freshman year. I got into the Call Me Mr. program, and which was the big foundation behind how this shift happened.
Okay.
Being exposed to just intelligent people that was caring and really was trying to build relationships. But let me go back to this important part. My very first freshman year, I literally took a class, and it was a Spanish class, and I literally had a professor. That was the same year, I lost my dad. And when I came back to school, that professor basically, when I kind of went and just tried to get work that I had missed, because that was very traumatic for me at that time. The comments that was said to me was that, look, it's not my fault that he died. And I remember in that moment, literally wanted to pack up and go.
That's crazy, because at a HBCU,
Exactly.
you would have
It's
got
different.
more embrace and more understanding of what is happening to you.
Correct. Now, I will say that embrace did happen. And ironically, it didn't even happen from a person that's the same color as me. There was another professor that taught Clemson 101 or CU 101, however it was. And his name was Mike McLeod.
Okay.
I have went back to Clemson several days to look for him and couldn't find him.
Wow.
Mike McLeod, I didn't even have to tell him the full story. Like, he felt it. And so that just goes to show you that you know, if you can connect with people, with the inner stuff that you have, and just having that intuition, like he had an intuition that the moment I walked through the door, he recognized just something just was off. I felt like I was acting completely normal because, hey, I'm going to hide that, you know, that this guy just told me this. And he literally held me after class. Like, he tried to give me food. He thought I was homeless. Like, he just tried so many different things. But he would not give up until that moment in time that I broke.
Got it.
And he literally said some things that I really needed to hear. And from that day forward, like I literally cherished that. And again, it was from someone that wasn't even the same color as me. And so just for that to happen, it kind of not only showed you how to navigate, but showed you the power of being able to build relationships and being able to move with that relationship to move forward and heal from it. So
cool. All right, backtrack. So, all right. So again, you chose Clemson, and going back to our high school, I just made mention that when you choose certain schools, like there was an expectation.
It's true.
That came with that. Do you feel like your choice were you pushed to go to Clemson? Were you expected to go to a school of that caliber? Or it was a shock that you went to Clemson?
It was a shock.
I know this. I just
it was a shock. It was never an expectation for me to go there. Actually, it was more of a surprising kind of moment. It wasn't because of the academics. It was like, look, you ain't gonna survive up there with those people. I'm like, who's those people? What are you talking about? And so it oftentimes come up when we have these conversations about communities. Usually when people say, hey, well, we just need to look out for our communities. And I remember at that point in time when I was thinking, I said, look, I'm going to have students that are going to be black, white, and whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
That's my community. And so I had to learn to embrace that word community differently than other people would channel it to mean. Because what they're specifically trying to say is our black community or such and such. And when you dealing with kids and when you're dealing with the true mission of my purpose, the community is all. And so I just have to figure out how to do that and navigate that. And I'm not saying that I would not have developed that being at a HBCU. What I am saying is that I have oftentimes been in conversations where I've had to challenge that way of thinking from people that has been from HBCUs. I'm not saying that that's not going to exist anyplace else. Yeah. It's just that that's my environment.
All right, so that's an interesting point that you said that, because our thinking is because black folks get left out of the conversation so much. Nobody's looking out for us, so we have to look out for us. We don't get the means all the time or the resources to be able to do certain things. So, and honestly, the people don't really understand fully unless you are part of the black struggle, right? And I had to even change how I even said that last part, because I was about to say nobody don't understand us but us. But like your story just made me realize that your white teacher had compassion for you, that understood something that, others may not. So when you are raised in that culture, how challenging, I guess that's how I would call you Oreo, but how challenging is that to come back into our environment with your perspective?
It's very challenging. It's very challenging to the point that when you say it, it makes sense to me, but it really doesn't make sense to them. When you say it, sometime it almost appears as if you're being washed differently. When that's certainly not the perspective. You get understanding that the fact that as an educator, I believe that I can still build my community by teaching them the compassion that they won't get anyplace else. And so if you put them in my environment, I teach them that same thing that Mike McLeod taught me. I teach them how to love each other, how to build a relationship with each other, that it wouldn't even have to be a benefit of me, but by the time they become adults, they won't have that same issue. And so a lot of times it's just not always easily seen or easily understood. And I most of the time am willing to go through that, through those challenges. But that it is a significant challenge. I won't say that it's easy. And sometimes you have to just allow the work to speak for you. And so that's what it basically is. I mean, I am interested to hear about, your challenges because even in the HBCU, there are times when that mindset just shifts. Because I understand college is what you make of it. And so with that being the case, what is it like for you?
Yeah, so for me, at South Carolina State, man, it was just like, it felt like, I hear people talk about this all the time, it felt like our high school on steroids. It's literally, I mean, because I had a really good experience at C. Murray ever since I got there. Mainly because, and it's probably the same thing for State, because of the band, honestly. Coming to C. Murray, I automatically got plugged in. Because, I mean, just to be transparent, it's always been the Blakely versus Greeleyville thing, right? So if you come from D.P. Cooper, people from Greeleyville already had their cliques, you know what I'm saying? So you had to kind of like be adopted into this new school because our C. Murray was a merger school of two schools. So, everybody didn't have the same experience I had because I clicked with Greeleyville people because we all was in band. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with South Carolina State. Me coming in as a freshman, a part of the 101, I got 110 other freshmen that we all coming together, and then once you're on the band, it's like 350 of us because we had like a large band at that time. 350 of us that everybody knew each other, so it was like I didn't have no problems making friends because my connection was the band.
Correct.
So again, high school, with the band, like my best friend is from Greeleyville, a female from Greeleyville, Elon. Shout out Elon. We was tight from day one. So like I didn't have most of the struggles some of us had coming from Blakely side, merging with Greeleyville, and me being talented, being able to kind of fit in and stuff like that. But some of my discrepancies was the fact that I was talented and not really paying much attention to academics, what the next step is, and other people navigating the road for me.
Gotcha.
So I was expected to be a music teacher and to come back and teach music at C. Murray High School. That was my expectation from day one.
Gotcha.
So honestly, that was always my backup plan.
Gotcha.
That was never my number one plan. I always wanted to have a studio, a music studio, and to do music full time. And if that didn't work, then that's why I majored in education. That was my backup plan. And the only reason I had a backup plan is because I didn't see anybody succeed in the music industry. I had, cousins and stuff that was in the music industry, but I didn't see I wasn't exposed to all of the areas in the music industry where people were like really, really doing it. So I didn't feel like I would be that one because I wasn't exposed to it until I got to South Carolina State. And it wasn't South Carolina State that exposed me. Gotcha. It was me that meet other people. We just happened to come through Orangeburg and, So it wasn't the school in general, but the school became a hub for like, I guess, other opportunities that was in my field. So, but it's still all of us black. You know what I'm saying? Connecting with Abram State. You know, he went to South Carolina State too, but he the one owned the studio. He's a black man that owned the studio out of his house.
Gotcha.
Versus when I came to visit y'all school, y'all don't even have a music program, but y'all got a full-fledged studio. Like, how does that work? You know what I'm saying?
Fully
We got a
operational.
music industry department, and our studio when I was there was off limits to students. Like, it wasn't functional.
Gotcha.
You get what I'm saying? So, like, it kind of, again, it's the glorified C. Murray, because C. Murray had stuff, but it wasn't always 100% functional. We just use what we use just to try to make things happen.
Correct.
You get what I'm saying? And I think that lack of, well, I guess that's what makes us who we are, especially as black folks, because we can do a lot with a little. But it still limit us to what full-fledged look like.
Correct. Yeah, I get that. There were two things that you said, and I'm trying to be. Well, I just say it like this. Like, I remember that experience of you all kind of seeing how much access students on campus had to the studio, and just regular things that literally has been closed off or protected. At South Carolina State. And so I do remember those experiences, but I also, even have experiences of my own where it's just that, like, the risk wasn't even the same. And for example, there was a point in time where a student who just graduated at Clemson could come back on campus and potentially obtain the job and kind of and do some things, even with their degree. But literally being a walking person that has a degree and try to get, an opportunity at State, already demonstrating that you're helping, doing certain things and that kind of stuff, you're told that, hey, we can't hire you from job because you don't have a doctorate degree. Regardless of the work that you bring, regardless of the services. And so even at that point in time, it's just, you have those experiences and you have to ask, I know we're trying to protect it, and I understand that, I get it, but at what cost? Yeah. At what cost? At what generation are we willing to allow that to happen to? And you talked about the connections that you have. I literally have to give it to the Common Mister program, because through the Common Mister program, I was able to meet brilliant and intelligent guys from South Carolina State, Morris College. Like, they gave me, and not just me, several people, the experiences that we need. Benedict College, Claflin, all of, you name it. That was the hub of not only meeting the intelligence, but understanding what it's like to be them. Not really understanding what it's like to be a black man, not really understanding what it's like to be a person at HBCU. What it's like to be them at HBCU. And I think using that story to kind of empower people, I think was the biggest part of it all. I give shout outs to people like Ab Watkins, who's from Orangeburg but still went to Clemson. Even Leandre, right there, same school, graduated before, that kind of stuff. Him and Mazza Joseph, like, literally, just those experiences are experiences that are beyond measure. They're different, but we were able to connect and relate.
Yeah. Was Leandre the first from our school to do the not Clemson, but Common Mister?
He could have been. He's the first that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, the program ain't that old either. So,
correct.
So yeah, shout out to, cause I remember that class, 06. They had an influx of people that go to PWIs too, which kind of opened that door for us, class 07, to do that. We had some in 05 and some in 04. It'd be like one or two. It won't be much. But then like 06, it's like a whole bunch of them. And then I know that Common Mister program was very essential to that. So we're gonna take a quick break. And we're gonna kind of get into the story of why we chose what we chose.
Good. Good.
And so again, these are the conversations that you're gonna see on the network. So Again, man, donate to KCTV. We're going to run that official launch video one more time so you can see exactly other things that's going to be going on with the Kingdom Culture TV network. This is what we built. Everything, literally everything you see here. And let me show you just a little bit more. Welcome to Kingdom Culture Studios. And you guessed it, we built this too. And I'm gonna show you why this is so important. Those who control the media control the mind of the masses. Media is our education. Media is how the world is shaped in our eyes. If the people that look like me and you don't control it, then who are controlling us? So in thinking about that, we are building what we call KingdomCultured.tv. What is Kingdom Culture TV? Well, it's a network. Just like Fox Network, ABC Network, CBS Network, the stuff that you see on TV. We are bringing terrestrial TV to the internet, but we're doing it with integrity. We're a faith-based organization, so we are going to uphold standards that represent everyone well. We are building a platform where people that share our same ideals, share our same experiences, share everything that we would like to see in film. We're now providing a platform for that can happen. Not only going to be entertaining, but it's going to be educational as well, because it's going to bring up different points of views and different expertise in some of the subjects that we should talk about in our communities. That's what Black-owned networks have done in the past. And we're just really trying to bring that back. What we're building here, it's not your typical Christian network. Because when you think about Christian network, first thing you think about is a network that's playing sermons all day. You know, that's not what we're doing here. Ministry is happening, but what we're doing by educating.
When you don't vote, then you don't get what you need on the agenda for those municipalities.
Yeah.
Because they believe, I'm gonna call it what it is, when the community is silent, they get silent treatment.
Right.
Entertaining.
God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. That's how they insult to the country. God bless you. Big Body God did it again. You woke up on the right side of the dirt, so let's give God a praise. This is John Lincoln and friends.
Movies.
As soon as I get my legs stripped back, I'm out, all right? And you and your God, you have this place to yourself. You know, Coach, I'm the coach.
You know what coach I'm talking about. The one that sits high and looks low.
I had a good time too. You're a pretty funny guy.
And TV shows.
Of couples state that, you know what, it's so much going on, and by the time we get home and get the kids settled and this, we're so exhausted that we just don't even have time for each other.
Set aside some time. Put it on your calendar. At 7:00 p.m., we're having dinner in the bedroom. Or you can come out in your little sexy dress, whatever you feel. You know, fix yourself up. Do what you have to do for your spouse. Because when you got married and decided to have children, the children were not to take the place of your spouse.
So, come along. Nah, for real. We friends now. Come along, ride this train. There's nothing to lose, but everything to gain. So, look, let's build this thing together. You see what we built? This is what we building. Let's build this together.
All right, we're back. So, getting back into the Skool Daze conversation. So, of course, I tell my story. I went to South Carolina State, but the expectation for me, because I was a musician, I was on the band, is the fact that, okay, you going to South Carolina State, you're going to get this music education degree, and you can bring your black behind down here and teach the band. So, but at the same time, I wanted to go to South Carolina State. I wanted to march on the band. And because my mentors went to South Carolina State, Nielsen Hilton, Wendell Williams went to Benedict, but I didn't want to go to Benedict. But he got his master's at South Carolina State. I found out more teachers, half the teachers we had went to South Carolina State. And everybody had such a great experience on talking about South Carolina State and South Carolina State's band. It just was like ingrained in me. So when it was time for me to like fill out college applications, I only fill out 2 applications. That was Claflin and South Carolina State.
Wow. Okay.
So
I feel you.
yeah, I mean, I didn't have enough knowledge to know about others' music schools. I remember Berkeley College of Music would send me brochures and letters all the time. I thought it was a fake school because nobody I knew went to Berkeley. Come to find out, they're like the best music school in the country. But I didn't know anything about that because of my level of exposure. But I went to South Carolina State because of the influence that I had. And, I mean, I loved it. Like, full HBCU experience. Like, if it's black, it was there. Like, everything that they talk about, the college experience, living in dorms, you know, parties, you know, like the fellowships and the people that you always, I mean, I still have people I fellowship with now. Like, just the connection. If I'm wearing a South Carolina State shirt and somebody got on a South Carolina State shirt, there's a conversation to be had. Or, you know, like I still go to homecomings, those kind of things, because it's just an experience that, like,
I get you.
You just, it's like no other. It's like you can't shake it. So, but when we talk about HBCU versus PWIs, let's talk about why you chose Clemson.
Okay.
And then your experience as a black brother at an all-white school.
Okay, so in the application process, I can't say that I fully understood every aspect of it. I know that I did apply to about 7 colleges at that time. South Carolina State was one of them. I didn't get a chance to go.
Which I don't understand to this day why this brother here
I got denied, man.
did not get accepted to South Carolina State.
But it happened.
His grades was better than mine. His accolades was better than mine. I'll be honest with you. I told this story to Octavia Hilton, which is Mr. Hilton's wife. I believe Mr. Hilton got me in South Carolina State because I remember him coming to my house. I was in a wheelchair at the time. And he said, "You got your acceptance letter yet?" I didn't. And he left. He came back the next week. He brought me some South Carolina State paraphernalia stuff. And like a couple days later, I got accepted. I don't think I got accepted either. I think he pulled some strings because I think he was in grad school at the time. And that's my story. I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, I only got denied 2 places out of all the places I did. So it was South Carolina State and I think the University of Florida. At that time. So basically the decision, at that point in time in my life, I was dealing with some very difficult things. And a part of me trying to come out of those things was me literally thinking in my head, I wanted to be the best. And while me wanting to be the best, you know, didn't really always equate it to like a school in South Carolina State, but just in South Carolina, but just the mindset that I had at that time. I wanted to go to the best school that I could possibly get into. And at that time, I remember like literally looking up, you know, Clemson University, USC, that kind of stuff. And I was looking at some programs. At that point in time, it was just simple as typing in Google. And they had a vision moving forward that they were going to be in the top 20 in the nation and that kind of stuff. And that's not only did I want to be a part of that, I wanted to be among people that was going to move in that way. And so when that possibility, when it became an option, it was the only option for me. And then I had, champions like, Angela Rush, McClary, and Miss Lally and Paulette King. I just had those people that was kind of rooting behind, man, you gonna go. You better go.
Yeah.
You got to do this now.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. And while the numbers were few, those voices were loud to me at that point in time. So I just think it was designed and it was ordained. And so I went. And I went scared, but I went. I went the very first time I actually stayed on the road that long to go to a school. And so it was
what, 5 hours drive? Where were you from?
Yeah.
So what was your experience there? Like, well, of course you said you were culture shock.
Yeah.
But as a black man, I said that a black teen going into all white environment, how was that?
And so I did mention the thing of shock, but it's it was a thing of just kind of being able to adjust to the new normal. Like it wasn't normal at all. I'll lie to you if I tell you it felt natural. I would lie if I told you that it was welcoming, because I didn't always feel welcome until my senior year. There were like 2 girls that I actually went to class with that I didn't even have to tell them where my shortcomings were. They recognized it, and they were there to even fulfill a need, like Anna Smith.
Your senior year?
My senior year. Because all before there was, I was around Mister, so like literally when there was needs, I would have guys that was there. And people make the running joke that, if you're black and you're at Clemson, you know everyone, which is not exactly true in my experiences, but that has been some of the things that has been said. But I remember my senior year, there were 2 people that, they recognized that it was different. Yeah. And they were my peers, and they would, whether I needed a ride to go to school or whatever the case may be, just so they could have the same access, they were willing to do it. And so as a black man, you actually saw where you had those few for you, but it was a lot for them. And I shouldn't even look at it as me and them, but literally it was like resources at your fingertips versus resources that you hope helped you get to that next level. And so you almost pray to have somebody to understand your need and be able to fulfill it. But
that's interesting, and I wish I had the clip, but I couldn't think of nothing fast enough without interrupting the broadcast but playing this clip. But I'm gonna bring up Van Jones. So Van Jones did a spiel on Jay-Z's 444 documentary, and he literally talked about how he went to the best school. I think he went to Harvard Law.
Okay.
Right? But as a black man, he was still counted out of certain things. He all he knew was to go to class, be the best that you can be as an attorney, learn everything you can learn in class, right? And then you're gonna be successful because you're at Harvard Law. But what he didn't know is those same students, the white students, had opportunities to go home with the professor and sit at the dinner table and have conversations about stuff that he would never, get the inside scoop.
That's true.
So, was that your experience?
Oh, absolutely. Which I didn't discover until my junior year, if I had to be honest. I mean, when you go into that, you kind of focus on everything else and just trying to do the best you could do. That you rely on, the ones that's around, but there were times when I found out that even people that I was with, they had study sessions, and I was oftentimes not invited, not even knowing that it exists. Wow. At one point in time, this specific time, and I don't know if this happened all the time, but this specific time, the professor was at the study session with the students, and I had no idea that it happened. Wow. I found out that it happened after the fact, after we got a graded assignment. And when we got the graded assignment, and they saw, the grades or whatever kids would be, it was like, man, you should have just came to the study session. That's how we got all our stuff. Oh, what study sessions? What study session you talking about? And
had you told me about it,
And so, you know, those kind of things happen. And then,
Wow.
you know, I got invited to the next one. But when I got invited to the next one, only 4 people was there out of the whole class of 22. And so, you know, while I still went through that experience, I oftentimes wonder, did 4 only come because they found out that I was invited, or they found out that I came? And so, you know, I never was the one that was willing to step into those rims of being the problem. But you know, and that for that point in time, I will say the others that was there, the other 3 that was there, was fully dedicated to us learning the experience together. Like it wasn't an experience where they were saying, "Hey, we coming to help you." It was like, "Hey, let's learn and do this together," because all of us had something that we need to learn. And so, I would have to admit that certainly was my experience, and I'm sure, you know, I've heard others kind of talk about the same experience. I don't think it was for everyone, but you know,
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, it happens.
And so, if you may, you don't have to answer this. How does that make you feel about? Well, I know it ain't the institution that the school done this, but
Correct.
It is the institution of people that is raising. So how does that make you feel?
So, now that's a loaded question too, and I'm gonna tell you why it's loaded.
Okay, go
because I remember in that moment in time, I was being a reflective practitioner and just saying, "Look, I didn't build enough relationships to get it." And so it was, and really called me Mr. Challenger, you know, to think of situations differently. Because if I had built enough relationship with the right people at the right time, I do believe that I could have been possibly, you know, at that place early and that kind of stuff. Because I do remember at the point in time when I was at the part of being invited, I showed up to a soccer game for one of their soccer games that they had, and it was intramural or either a Clemson Life game or something like that. But anyway, it was showing that support so they can know that, hey, I am here to support you. And then at that point, that was the return. And so if I had learned to do that earlier, maybe that had been a thing. But, you know, the weird part of me just saying it, which is why I say it's loaded, the weird part of me thinking that, all has come back to the condition of how I was raised. And so not one time did I in other words, you kind of protect yourself by not finding the blame to be someone else. You find the blame to be you. And while I know that, I'm just sharing the actual true emotional feeling.
I get it. So you took responsibility. You're taking responsibility over the fact that maybe you could have done something to change that.
Exactly.
And it's not the institution that comes against you.
Correct.
And not the institution of the college, but just you know, a racial divide. That's interesting, man. Because, well, I guess, you know, how we were raised, you know, you're right, you take responsibility. And it wasn't no blaming other people. I remember, boy. I remember my dad. I used to, like, I'll do something that somebody else did, and my dad would be like, "I ain't asked you if they did it. Why you did it?"
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
And so I ain't worried about them. Why you did it? You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? So taking responsibility. That's pretty good though. I mean, because again, I didn't go to PWI. My grad school is. I went to Full Sail for grad school. I wouldn't say it's a predominantly white. It's a school. So I mean, everybody there. Black folks, white folks, Asian folks, Mexicans, like everybody's there. So I don't think it's predominantly white institution. But one thing that is funny that I was told was for black folks, and if there's anybody that's watching who want to comment about it, but I was told to go to HBCU for your undergrad, go to white school for your master's.
To each his own.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good observation.
To each his own.
In that, I guess they were saying you get the social experience and foundation of being black from a black institution because, of course, that's nowhere else, all right? But they were saying that when you zero into your field, when you're talking about getting upper level, you want to go somewhere that, and this is what they said. I got a different experience once I started doing that, but you want to go somewhere that may have a little more resources about your field. So if you think about it, they were saying white schools may have more to offer in certain areas, which, that's going to be arguable because what I've learned, and this is what my teacher taught me, even though he's a white teacher at a black school, but he taught me on the master's level, especially when it's come down to what we do, it's not about the institution, it's about the teacher.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. And he was like, you find a teacher, and I studied boys, so he was saying, like, you find a teacher that's going to mentor you and teach you the way that you need to know. And no matter what school that person at, you go to that school because of that teacher. And then you'll end up getting the tools that you need to, to learn. So, of course, I didn't have the opportunity of having a teacher, but Full Sail was that institution for me to further what I found need to be my way of getting through to what I ultimately want to be. Now, for you, I said all that is because you didn't go to HBCU, but I know y'all have like black counts. I don't know, like a black council or like black student. I don't know.
Association. Yeah,
Yes. So how was that, and what was that like? Or did you guys yearn to try to recreate a black experience on the white campus, or what was that like?
I'll be honest with you. That's it's not a difficult question for me to answer, and my answer probably wouldn't be popular. But I never tried to intentionally associate myself with organizations that felt like they had to create black culture. And so, like, literally, I allowed whatever culture I had. I won't even necessarily I allowed whatever culture I had to be the existing culture, for me in whatever arena I was in. And so I never felt like I had to go to, this culture. And I'm certain that I wasn't the only one that felt that way because I've been in several conversations where that's been the case. It's always this phenomenon that, you got, and this right here is just far stretching. You got white people on the hill say, hey, we're better. And I just find it weird that, the other culture would just go onto the hill and say the same thing. Hey, we better. Now you just got two cultures just yelling and saying the same thing versus the fact of being able to work and do the work that, just let the work speak for you. And so in many cases, I can't speak to that part of it. But what I can, and I know this wasn't a comment of you, and you were quoting something from someone else, but I would have to disagree that going to a HBCU would teach you about your culture, because let me tell you this, I went to a PWI, and I felt like being at a PWI and being challenged about my core values and belief and that kind of stuff taught me more about black culture than reliving the same culture. Because being at that different exposure allowed me not only to see how I was raised, but it was able for me to help me determine whether this was a good part of my culture or not so good. And until we get to the place that we can realize how to make our culture better or how to make your life better, you have to be able to first be able to identify what things in your childhood that wasn't right. And so, having that challenge, I think, allowed me to kind of see more of the culture that I was living. Because literally, there are people that's in a cesspool, have no idea that they're in the cesspool, and happy that they're there. And so until you understand what it's like not, until you understand what it's like not to be, until you understand those ideologies.
I agree with that. In some points, because now again, being at South Carolina State, it had a lot of people challenge you, like in so many different ways. We had a professor. If you took human psychology, human growth and development psychology, whatever it is. We had a guy named Dr. MacArthur, and he would challenge everything. Old black man.
It's the teacher.
Yeah, he would. I mean, he would challenge everything, and he had a very good reason for doing that. One thing he would say that, and this is going to cause some uproar, and I'm not going to say everything. So, but one thing he would say is all women are bees, which is kind of derogatory, but he got a good explanation of this. And all men are retarded.
Okay.
So, he said, you don't know not one woman, no matter how nice they is, no matter how gentle it is, but got a little feisty bite in them.
Okay.
If you get on the wrong side, you're going to see the female dog come out.
Okay.
It actually happened in class because of some of the things that he challenged. And I mean, boy. Okay, so, and then all men, he said, all men are retarded. He said, we ain't dumb. It just takes us it takes us a while to get started. Like, and one of the things that, again, like he was saying, and of course in the black neighborhood, we have a lot of single parent situations that happen. And one of his challenges was to one of the girls was, how do you feel about your father? And she was going off about how her father wasn't there, you know, and this and that. And he said, it's probably because of your mama. Oh, she ain't like that. That's where the female dog came out because, and he was like you only heard one side of the story. You grew up on one side of the story, like, and you have to understand. Again, this is an educational. A class in the educational realm, so you have to understand your students the same way when they think and talk about the same way. Correct. And when you challenge them, what happens? So, and I mean, she was upset by that thing. But then he also challenged the females. If you have, say for instance, you get pregnant here in college, right? He said most men, if they may run from their responsibilities because they don't know how to handle it. But sometimes if you force them, like he said, just leave the baby in his arm for a weekend and walk away. I promise you by Sunday when you get that baby back, he'll always be there for that child because there's a connection that happens once that baby gets in a man's arms. Now with a woman, she carried the baby for 9 months. So there's a connection already there. But for a man, once he have to take care of that baby and that's a part of him, like he's gonna always be there. And he also challenged the women. He said, look, I know the men are a little retarded, but this is the best time for you to find you a man. Okay. Find your husband in college because you already know he ain't crazy. You know he ain't stupid. He made it to college. You know he got some type of something that he's working towards because he's in college. You know what I'm saying? Like, so groom that man to what you want him to be. You know, and for a lot of us, I found my wife in college.
I feel you.
You know what I'm saying? So that's just some of the things that he challenges. He challenged us about our culture. He actually brought us to the museum here in Columbia. Okay. And you'd be surprised how many people have never been to a museum. And he wanted us to just observe what we saw, what's in the museum, how does it affect us now that we know certain things about, South Carolina, how it came to be, our role in it, and, just all of those things. So when it come down to our culture, I had a lot of professors that kind of dig into the person, and they have the freedom to dig into the person because basically the culture that you that you have. So yeah, that's pretty much my experience at State. I wouldn't trade my experience for yours, and I'm sure you wouldn't trade.
I certainly wouldn't. It had some great people, man. Great people. One of the greatest mentor, in my opinion, of all time is Winston Houghton and Roy Jones and them, because challenging your belief, challenging what you thought. That was the core of what they did because they believed that's it makes you.
Yeah.
And so, just kind of having those experiences, I wouldn't change because it's certainly the foundation of who I am and hopefully what I become. So certainly, I wouldn't change it. I'm grateful you had your experiences because we would talk about those stories and stuff all the time.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Yeah, that's cool, man. It's so funny though. I'm gonna wrap this up, but it's so funny how the mentality, and this may be just me, but I think it's still a mentality that has to be broken of comparing the two.
I agree.
I
totally agree.
Just like how you talked about the guys that you met that went to HBCUs that are also a part of the Call Me Mr. program, and that you mentioned that how brilliant and bright they were. I wonder, did they compare themselves to people in your cohort at Clemson? Because they can now say that we just as bright as you are. But is it because you're a black man or is it because you at Clemson? Because we do that sometimes.
Yeah, that's to be continued. That's to be continued. I can tell you, I have heard some instances where that hasn't been the case. It was sometime easier for ministers at PWIs to kind of be appreciative of the ones from HBCU versus the other one. Now, there's one experience that I can recall where that wasn't the case, but if I look at it on the totality about the experiences that I have been around, the conversations I have witnessed, sometimes it wasn't easy for those conversations to come laterally. Yeah. Like it almost felt like there was a pedestal that was here and the conversations would go this way.
Yeah.
And it was never intended for it to be this way, but it was only the mindset of these people that allowed this to exist.
So where was the pedestal? Who was on the pedestal?
The Clemson was on the pedestal, or PWI.
Right.
Was on the pedestal. But the weird thing about it is that the PWIs never put themselves there. It was always the mindset of different of HBCUs that allowed that pedestal to exist. Now there were some that was a part of this that they didn't allow it. They was like, yeah, we're right here.
Same level.
But if we look at the majority, it wasn't always that way.
So again, that kind of goes back to how Charlemagne the God would say, sometimes we feel that white man ice is colder.
Oh yeah, and it's the same ice.
It's the same ice, but we believe that the white man ice is colder.
Yeah.
So I guess that brings us. We're not going to talk about it. We're going to close this conversation, but that does bring you to the thought of who programmed in our mind, as Malcolm X say, who told you to hate yourself? Yeah. Who told you to hate ourselves? And it's just, sometimes we think about that. I remember when we was working, we was trying to get our equipment straight. And of course, we had wires everywhere. We was trying to figure things out. And I remember a group member said, "Take it to the white man. He'll clean that thing up for you. Take it to the white man." I was like, he ain't gonna do nothing else different than what we doing. We just didn't have the cords in place. That's all. Take it to the white man. He'll fix it. I'm like,
yeah.
And that's the mentality that we have.
That's the culture.
So if any of you feel like you can challenge that, that's the broad question, how do we challenge our own brothers and sisters to believe that what we have is just as good as anybody else? Our mindset, our institutions, our ideologies, our experiences, but to not put our own experiences over somebody else. So that's your challenge. That's pretty much all we got today. I enjoyed talking to my brother.
I did.
About Skool Daze.
Absolutely.
Coming from a HBHS and then me going to HBCU and he going to a PWI. It don't bother us one bit. We family.
No.
So we don't even, it just is what it is. I mean, we don't pick on each other about anything. I admire your experiences. You admire mine. So you know, it never been that thing. But I have heard people, you know, try to trash talk HBCUs and stuff like that. But in the other way around, we have people from HBCUs that try to trash talk. The fact that other people we go to PWI to try to get validation.
Correct.
So it is what it is. Tell me your experience and how can we change the ideologies of where we come from, that we believe that the white man ice is colder because we're all on the same level. We're a human race, as they say. All right, cool. So again, man, if you enjoyed this programming, you can like, share, comment on the video. Also, again, man, we trying to get more content like this going on a daily basis for Kingdom Culture TV. If you haven't checked out the website, go to buildkctv.com or just kingdomculture.tv. Either one. They'll take you to the same website. You can donate from there. You can get merch from there. Like these cups and stuff that we have. We got t-shirts. You see me wear the t-shirts and hats and stuff like that. You can see all of that there. But again, donate so that we can bring you a black-owned media company can bring you black content. We're faith-based, so we can bring you Christian content as well. And also, we're doing things for the community, man. So continue. I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next live. This is what we built. Everything, literally everything you see here. And let me show you just a little bit more. Welcome to Kingdom Culture Studios. And you guessed it, we built this too. And I'm gonna show you why this is so important. Those who control the media control the mind of the masses. Media is our education. Media is how the world is shaped in our eyes. If the people that look like me and you don't control it, then who are controlling us? So in thinking about that, we are building what we call KingdomCulture.tv. What is Kingdom Culture TV? Well, it's a network. Just like Fox Network, ABC Network, CBS Network, the stuff that you see on TV. We are bringing terrestrial TV to the internet, but we're doing it with integrity. We're a faith-based organization, so we are going to uphold standards that represent everyone well. We are building a platform where people that share our same ideals, share our same experiences, share everything that we would like to see in film. We're now providing a platform for that can happen. Not only going to be entertaining, but it's going to be educational as well, because it's going to bring up different points of views and different expertise in some of the subjects that we should talk about in our communities. That's what Black-owned networks have done in the past, and we're just really trying to bring that back. What we're building here, it's not your typical Christian network. Because when you think about Christian network, first thing you think about is a network that's playing sermons all day. You know, that's not what we're doing here. Ministry is happening, but what we're doing by educating.
When you don't vote, then you don't get what you need on the agenda for those municipalities.
Yeah.
Because they believe, I'm gonna call it what it is, when the community is silent, they get silent treatment.
Right. Entertaining.
God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. That's how they insult to the country. God bless you. Big Body God did it again. You woke up on the right side of the dirt, so let's give God a praise. This is John Lakin and friends.
Movies.
As soon as I get my legs stripped back, I'm out, all right? And you and your God can have this place to yourself. You know, Coach, I'm the coach.
You know what coach I'm talking about. The one that sits high and looks low.
I had a good time too. You're a pretty funny guy.
And TV shows.
Of couples state that, you know what, it's so much going on, and by the time we get home and get the kids settled and this, we're so exhausted that we just don't even have time for each other.
Set aside some time. Put it on your calendar. At 7:00 p.m., we're having dinner in the bedroom. Or you can come out in your little sexy dress, whatever you feel. You know, fix yourself up. Do what you have to do for your spouse. Because when you got married and decided to have children, the children were not to take the place of your spouse.
So, come along. Nah, for real. We friends now. Come along, ride this train. There's nothing to lose, but everything to gain. So, look, let's build this thing together. You see what we built? This is what we building. Let's build this together.